Here we're going to have a look at the Fractal tool and how this works inside of Gen 3D's Sulis Flow module. So in order to design fractal geometry, we first need to start with a node. So I'm just going to place a node by clicking on the node button, and I'll just create this in the center of my base plate. Now the fractal geometry will be generated in the direction of the arrow on the node. So in this case, it's going to be designed straight up. So to design the fractal, we want to first click on the node. And then I'm going to click the fractal button in the flow tab. And you can see it's already populated my start node. And we've got a preview of what the fractal shape will look like. So let me just run through these options quickly. So the number of splits is the number of turns the flow paths take. So if I change this to 3, you can see that each one splits into 3. If it splits into 4, you can see this one splits into 4. Our radial distance is the distance in the radial direction that we want our fractal to be generated in. So if I increase this, we can see that the array gets wider in the lateral direction. Our axial distance is the z height that we want our fractal to be generated in. So we can see increasing this. Rotational offset is the rotation in each of the layers. Now for 4, we won't see this very much, but if I go 2 and add in a 90-degree rotation, that just means that at each layer, we'll rotate the fractal by 90 degrees. We can then change the start thickness and the start radius. So the thickness and radius of this node, and then afterwards, the radius and the thickness of the layers will be calculated based on the fractal splitting inside of the algorithm. So if we've got 2 splits at the second layer, we'll have half of the radius and half of the thickness. Finally, we can modify the layers. So in this case, we've got 3 layers. We could add 4 or 5. The more you add, you obviously reduce down in the geometric progression. So you've just got to be a bit careful about your minimum feature sizes if indeed you are looking to print these structures. So when you're satisfied with your fractal pattern, you can press create, and this will then form your nodes and your fluid channels. Now, these can be exported as step geometry by going through the File Export tab as step. One thing to just note with fractal geometry, when you have these branching structures at the nodes, you can sometimes have overlapping phases, which can lead to some challenges with creating the BREP step geometry. If that happens, then go into the cog, the settings tab in the top ribbon. And inside of here, we have this parameter that we call overlap radius adjustment. By default, this is set to 0.00. And if you're struggling with export, you might want to modify this a few hundredths of a percent. So we will go in 0.01, 0.02. You might need to go up to something like 0.08. You shouldn't need to go up any higher than this. But normally, if you're having trouble with export, as a tip, you can run into this parameter in the settings window, and that can sometimes make things a little bit easier. Thank you.